And we're back with another interview with another great project on XDC's network. Today, we have the pleasure of having Navin Dsouza with us. Navin, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jake. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is one of the prominent people involved with Comtech Global. Can you give the viewers maybe an idea of what you guys are building on XDC's network?
So basically, at Comtech Gold, what we have tried to do is change the way people invest in gold, kind of thing. So what we have done is we have tokenized physical gold into digital tokens or tokenized gold in the version where people can buy, sell gold in a digital tokenized form and have it in their wallet. So what we believe is gold is one of the most historical assets which has been into investment right from Financial Times, Grandparent Days, and the others. But the way of investing in gold is not changed, and still predominantly physical gold is a prominent way of investing. So what we are trying to do is bring this real world asset into the tokenized world and allow people to buy gold in the tokenized form and have it safely secured in their wallet while the gold remains secured, insured in a secured vault.
Yeah, and there's a few other people that are looking to do this. I've seen Glint and a few others that kind of have a way of going about it. You guys actually issue a warrant against a 1 kilogram bar that's held there in Dubai, and the mints that you guys use are some of the best and purest in the world, from my understanding. Right, so it's premium level, high grade gold. Only the purest, right, that you're dealing with. There's no inflation packaged in there. And then you guys tokenize it down to the gram and issue a token that represents each gram. But it's really, so you have warrants or bonds against the gold that are issued for the 1 kilogram allotment. And then you guys tokenize the warrant. Is that kind of how your procedure works?
Yeah, so what we are trying to do is a little distinct than what others are trying to do, where many of them have reserves into the refineries or reserves into mines and the others. So what we have used as a standardized practice, as what you rightly said, is what we, as the underlying, keep or invest or buy 1 kilo gold bars. So what we do is the backing of it is 1 kilo gold bars, which is 99.99% purity. We only accept London good delivery bars and we accept only UAE good delivery bars. So they are the best globally. That's the most fungible and liquid traded gold. And we have added a governance element into it. So what we have done is we have done a partnership with DMCC, which is a government of Dubai entity. So every 1 kilo gold bar which comes into the vault, there is a trade flow warrant which is created. So trade flow warrant is a legal tender document in UAE, which is issued by DMCC.
Yeah.
So DMCC validates the gold. DMCC verifies that the gold is coming to the vault. And then in parallel, against each and every warrant, we create 1,000 tokens, where one token represents 1 gram of gold. So this creation or minting of the token is also done in a multi-sig environment where DMCC is one of the signatories. So they validate whether the gold is coming. They validate the token minting request is coming. It matches with the gold. And then only it approves the minting and the gold deposit. So which means that at no point in time, independently, Comtech can create or mint tokens without gold. And predominantly where it comes important is many of them say that, okay, what happens? I have the tokens, but tomorrow you decide and disappear with the gold. What happens over there? Because at the end of it, everything is about trust, everything is about the reserves. So even if we have to withdraw the gold, when we send it to the vault saying that please give me 1 kilogram of gold, they say that now you have a warrant against it. First, go to DMCC and cancel the warrant. Without that, we cannot release the gold. So when we go to DMCC to cancel the warrant, DMCC comes and says that, okay, we're requesting a cancellation of warrant. Where is your burning request for 1,000 tokens? So we create a burning again in a multi-sig where 1,000 tokens are burnt against individual gold bars, where we have to mention the bar number against which is burnt, the warrant number against which is burnt, and these both goes to DMCC for approval. So they endorse, they verify, and validate to ensure that equivalent amounts of tokens are burned without the gold comes out. So at no point in time there can be any mismatch between the tokens issued and the underlying gold. So that's the governance factor we have done it. And predominantly in the region, we are the first to be Sharia compliant. Sharia is an important factor from Islamic investment perspective. So it's not only necessary for Islamic investment, but for Sharia compliant, one of the most important elements has to be that it has to be 100% backed. It has to be allocated gold, segregated gold, and identifiable gold. So we cannot create tokens for something which is there in a reserve as long as it is not identified, segregated, and allocated. So in our case, you can individually see that this is the gold bar which has been tokenized.
Yeah, well, then that's huge, right? So the auditability of that, and it's provable. You have a regulatory body that's involved that is providing the governance or a component of it, right? I'd assume that you have some type of smart contract protocol if somebody does exchange the 1,000 tokens or burn those. It would also, like you said, have to burn the wallet that they were issued to. And then that would represent the removal of the warrant, and they would be able to then collect the 1 kilogram bar from the depository if they wanted to do so.
Yeah, that's 100% right. So this is where we are unique because we allow tokenization, the minting by deposit of 1 kilobars directly from the refiner, or we allow even the burning of token against 1 kilobars. So if you have 1,000 tokens, you transfer the tokens to our escrow account, which goes into the multisig vault account. And from there, we burn those 1,000 tokens and deliver you 1 kilobar gold in UAE.
Yeah, that's great. And so this smart contract protocol and what you guys have minted is on XDC's network.
Yes.
You issue basically real world assets or tokenization of real world assets on XDC.
Yeah, because what we were trying to do when we were trying to get into the blockchain space, what we have realized and seen that okay, blockchain has come down in 2009, and even though that from a technology perspective is amazing, it is still to touch the masses, the real world people kind of thing, and that's where we saw that for that to succeed, for that to reach, it needs to have real world assets because the whole idea behind blockchain was to solve real world issues. So that's where the tokenization of real world asset comes into picture. As what I told from a gold perspective, it is difficult for an individual to buy gold in smaller denominations. So let's say if I want to buy 10 grams of gold, unless and until I go to the gold market and buy a physical, there is no other ways of buying it kind of thing. So this on a tokenized form allows basically fractionalization of gold, digitalization of gold, which allows you to buy it any point in time, sell it any point in time, and also hold it in your wallet. So that's where we say that you have your gold in your wallet and you can travel everywhere.
Yeah, well, and it's a claim on the deposit, right? So when banks first started issuing currency, this is the model that they wish they would have had then, right? They had paper gold that would float around, and you could exchange that paper, or it was redeemable for the gold in the vault at the bank. Before they ended up doing fractional reserve lending, and then now there's no actual backing. It's just Fugazi paper money with no actual backing. 100 years later, so anyway, yeah, I think that this is going to catch fire, and there'll be a lot. I'm sure that there are probably other jurisdictions that you guys would like to participate in. Is that something on your roadmap?
Yeah, so we are predominantly based in the UAE. The next market that we are looking at expanding would be the GCC, including starting from Saudi, Qatar, and the others. But what we have made, because in case of real world asset, one of the most important thing comes into is also the regulatory framework, because regulations globally are not the same across things. So we have to be very cautious about that when we talk about the real world assets, because if I buy gold in UAE, can I have delivered in India, or can I have it delivered in Hong Kong? Can I have it delivered in US? It depends on each jurisdiction kind of thing. So in that, what we have built is we have the whole infrastructure of the tokenization of real world assets, which allows us to white label it at any jurisdiction of our choice. So we have done similar projects. So we have launched a digital gold partnership with Globians, who is launching their digital gold called Globians Gold. And rather than what you call that, trying to build the infrastructure on physical gold, they're riding on our infrastructure. So each of their gold tokens would be backed by Comtech Gold, which is backed by physical gold. We have similar done a tie-up in Thailand, which allows an entity in Thailand to issue digital gold in Thailand and have it backed by Comtech Gold, which is again backed by physical gold. And many of them are wanting to do that because one is they want to have their gold secured in a very neutral jurisdiction. So UAE, from that perspective, is quite neutral from a political perspective. Secondly, even from a geographical perspective, UAE falls somewhere around the center of the world kind of thing. If you talk about 80% of the globe, you can travel within 8 hours of travel time. So from a logistic perspective, also UAE fits into thing. From a taxation perspective, 1 kilo gold bars come into investment grade, so there is no VAT in the others. So it becomes an ideal location for having this, but it allows us through our network to have it launched globally anywhere.
No, I think, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in this, and really, you've kind of pioneered what I think is the right structure for this. So you've got a qualified custodian that's holding the underlying asset, and then you've got a regulatory body that might be involved in whichever jurisdiction that qualified custodian is in, that's going to verify and audit, the backing of the minting of the token, and then you're really issuing a warrant against the underlying asset that you're tokenizing interest in that warrant down to a gram, right? And as gold fluctuates in value, the value of that token might also fluctuate because it's representing the underlying asset. But it's a backing of 1-to-1. We know right now, the gold market's very manipulated, and there's a lot of paper gold floating around that has no real, like, you can claim it on the COMEX, and we've seen a lot of people do that over the last few years. But I think that game of musical chairs is coming to an end here soon. And people like yourself, people I think are going to be flocking to solutions where they know for sure that they do have an actual claim on the gold that they can get to, but it's held somewhere safe. A lot of people that are in my network, they like to have personal possession of some gold, just in case things really were to hit the fan. But I'm kind of with you. I like a diversification, especially if you have a lot of money in gold. You don't want to keep that at your home. You would want to hold that in a vault, qualified custodian, know that it's there, and then again, have the liquidity that you guys are providing to it, where you can then exchange that for goods or services or whatever else you might need to, while knowing that your money, because that's what gold is. Money is actually there, and it's not being inflated away like these fiat currencies.
Well, see, the important as what you mentioned about is if you see from a comics trading and the other perspective, it's hardly 1% of it actually goes for physical delivery. Otherwise, it's only just rolling around kind of thing. Because I have been an exchange person. I worked with Dubai Gold and Commodity Exchange for around 12 years. So it's 1% of what you actually trade goes into the physical delivery. And we have seen historically when the physical delivery demand increases, things don't go the right way. And from the gold perspective, we are going back to the old gold standard days where currencies used to be issued back by gold, but it did not work because gold was not fungible.
Right.
So with the real world asset tokenization, we are making gold fractionalized, we are making gold fungible, we are making gold exchangeable kind of thing, and at the same time secure. If you see historically, when people talk about gold, they say that okay, it's something like a safe haven, but historically, when you compare the results of gold as compared to the other securities, it doesn't look bad. So when you talk about last 5 years, gold is giving you a return of close to 10%, wherein your US stocks is giving you around somewhere around 14%. Your US cash is given around roughly 2%, and bonds have been negative. So Considering the downside of it, a 10% return on a secured asset it's great. And it works very well during inflationary time. Whenever we see that inflation is more than 3%, gold comes around somewhere between 10 to 15% returns. And whenever inflation is less than 3%, it is around 5 to 6% of return. So instead of holding your money in dollars, people want to keep it in gold. They were not able to do it because of the fungibility and the logistic issues. So this is where Comtech Gold solution and the real world asset tokenization solution comes into picture, that it removes the hurdles of fungibility. It removes the hurdles of physical element. So you can now access gold at a click of a button anywhere globally and move around with it.
Yeah, which, like I said, there's only a few other competitors that I think are in the space that really have any traction. I think that the way you guys have done it, I'm a proponent of. It's going to be a while before the actual underlying asset is tokenized on the blockchain. I think you'll have paper derivatives that are issued and regulated, uh, and within compliance that you can tokenize and trade freely. What you have is not a security. You're not. There's no profit. There's no central party that is backing it or promising anything. It's just a warrant against something you can claim. So yeah, I think it's super innovative. Are you guys looking at, any type of way to earn yield against the tokens in any capacity? Is there anything on the roadmap for that?
Yeah, so the idea also from a tokenized gold perspective is in the current moment when people invest gold, what do? They just either, if it's a retail investor, keep it in a locker, or if it's a financial bank, keep it in the vault kind of thing. One of the important element of tokenization of gold was also to bring it back to the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what we talk about dematerialization of securities. So earlier you used to have paper securities, and to transfer one security used to be one big of a hell of a job kind of thing. You have to go to the registrar, get it stamped. Then there were issues with duplicate securities, damaged securities, and the others. But the moment it went into a digital form, that completely changed the way securities market behaved. That completely changed the access of it. So this is what we want to do it with gold. And the reason of doing it with gold is to bring it back to the economy. Now, in a digital form, we can have collateralization of gold. People can hold it as collateral, get yield against it, because there are a lot of bullion banks who want access to physical gold. So we can work out a lean mechanism with this bank where these gold can be used for their daily purposes and they get an yield against it. Secondly, you have a lot of financial institutions who are willing to offer or lend against gold. In the current form, it is difficult because of the quality issues and the others. But if it's in a digital form, and when they know that it's 100% backed by pure gold, and they have an access to the security of the tokens, this is where lending becomes very easy. We have got interest from people who want to use it for trade finance. So you have a lot of SME buyers and sellers in the market where getting a bank LC really gets difficult. So even though they have their whole money, when they have the whole funding, but getting an LC as a central counterparty becomes really difficult. So we have received requests or interest from certain financial institutions who hold or want to hold tokenized gold, and they want to use it as a collateral for trade finance. So what happens is the buyer deposits the cash, the tokens are issued to him. You have a smart contract created on the whole trade finance where these tokens are collateralized in a smart contract. The moment the seller completes or fulfills his obligation, he gets the access to the tokenized gold. Now he has a choice. Either he can sell it back to the financial institution to get his dollars, or he can hold it and liquidate it whenever he wants. Because with Comtech Gold, you can either liquidate it for fiat currency, or you can have the physical gold along with it. So that was the whole idea, and this is predominantly where we have gone into the selection of XDC. When we're looking at from a different network perspective, we were looking at three important key elements. One, the security element. Second was speed, and most importantly was the cost. So these are the three important things that we wanted to look at, because real world assets specifically gold and the others, are not something which gives you a leverage or 10%, 20% returns kind of thing. It runs in a very thin margin. And economies of scale is very important without compromising of security and speed kind of thing. So when we researched various blockchains, we got into XDC and we realized that it is one of the really decentralized blockchain kind of thing network, where if you see the nodes are completely held and distributed. It's a proper proof of stake concept. When you compare the speed perspective, XDC has got a speed of around 2,000 transactions per second, wherein if you talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin, the speed is somewhere between 10 to 12 transactions per second. And it's much more sustainable from an electric consumption perspective. And when you talk about the cost, an on-chain transaction costs you somewhere between $10 to $15 per every transaction. But when you look at XDC, it is 0.00001, which is close to nothing. So it is something which will allow us to scale because this is very important for the mass adoption. So we are very happy to be on the XDC network, and that allows us to add and onboard a lot of projects for white labeling solution also onto the network.
So your token's an issued asset on that chain. I'd assume it would be interoperable with XDC, easily exchangeable for XDC if people wanted to do that.
Yes, so we are working with where we are having it paired with XDC as well in a couple of the exchanges. So at the moment we are listed on 3 exchanges. We are listed on Bytrue, we are listed on LBank, we are listed on Bitmart. So these are the 3 exchanges where we are listed in, where anybody can go to these exchanges, buy it against USDT. USDT XDC is highly fungible, so you can create a pair with XDC and Comtech Gold as well. We also operate on a white labeling and a OTC platform where if you have anybody who wants to, let's say, tokenize or have access to 10 million worth of gold. So that is something that we do it on an OTC basis where we get in touch with them. We have the gold allocated against them. And against those 10 million worth of USDTs, we allocate them digital gold against it. So as on date, we have 144 kgs of gold tokenized and against 144,000 of units, where 1 unit represents 1 gram of gold.
It's fantastic. So are you guys planning on raising any capital to acquire more gold to be able to offer tokens onto the market? Obviously, there wouldn't be a premium there. So is it kind of a come as you are type deal? As people want it, that's when you emit more tokens?
Yeah, so basically what we've done is we are like an infrastructure provider kind of thing. So we have created the whole governance infrastructure on gold tokenization.
Got it.
So as and when people come in, that's where we procure the gold, have it tokenized, and then give the tokens to the market. So if we started a year and a half back, and in the first 3 months we were only 17 kgs of gold and 17,000 tokens, and a year and a half back now we have moved it to 144,000 tokens backed by 144 kgs of gold, which is roughly valuing around 10 million. So we are quite small at the moment, but it's growing at a rapid pace, and we are seeing a lot of adoption. Specifically, if you see in this year itself, gold is gained around close to 10 to 15%. And at the same time, people are now looking at gold as a backup currency kind of thing. They're looking at gold as an alternative currency where with the devaluation of dollars, the way it's going in, and what you rightly said about paper being printed left, right, and center, people are moving back to real world assets, and what better than gold?
Yeah. I think central banks are, they created, or the BIS designated gold as a tier 1 asset in 2019. First time that's happened in over 50 years. Previous to that, it was just U.S. Treasuries. So anyway, I think there's definitely a changing of the guard. And so do you think there'll ever be a time when, let's say you hold the tokenized gold, you wanted to escrow it, and maybe you want to lend it to an institution or somebody else that wants to use it as collateral, and they might be willing to pay you a yield to be able to do that? Do you think that's on the roadmap at any point?
Yeah, that's definitely on the roadmap. So we are working with similar ecosystem providers. One of it is Fathom, who has issued an stable token against USD. And it also has a provision where you can collateralize your existing tokens and get an yield against it. So this is where the world is moving on to, where It is not only about holding gold, holding and getting an what you call the returns on the gold itself, but try and make use of gold to get you extra yield out of it. One is the collateralization model, the second is the lending model, the third is the trade finance model, and fourth is also people are looking at using gold as a mode of payment.
Mhm.
So this is where blockchain comes into picture, where it becomes a global currency without actually needing to go to SWIFT, US bank sanctions, and the others. So it becomes much of a value. And secondly, when you transfer gold, you're actually transferring value against it. So it's an asset transfer rather than just credits and debits into different accounts.
Yeah, there. I believe contracts in the U.S. were payable in gold up until like 1964. You
Yes.
could purchase a home or a vehicle, which seems kind of crazy to people today that you'd be willing to swap gold for that, or it was even possible that you could at one time. It's odd to me that if you look at 10 kg worth of gold back in like 1913, that would have bought you a home. And 10 kilograms of gold now would also just about buy you a nice home here in the
So
U.S.
that's where it comes about. So people have realized that had they kept their what you call that
Their
investments in gold,
wealth.
yes, the wealth in gold, they would have still been better off as compared to holding their money in dollars and the others. So this is where people are looking at an alternative asset. This is where people are looking at something which can be used across. What we're trying to also look at a way where we can allow people to spend the gold globally. So we are working out with banks and the other partners where we'll be shortly or slowly launching onto a debit card against the gold wallet itself.
Oh, very
So you
great.
can not invest in gold, but you can now go and globally buy a coffee in gold itself.
So Mastercard was at the event that we had there just a few weeks ago for the USA UE Alliance there at XDC's offices, which you guys were there for. Um, is it? Can you say if it's with Visa or Mastercard or who you guys
Yes,
are partnering with?
it's difficult to say at the moment because both of them we are talking to both of them. Secondly, um, you can issue cards in a particular jurisdiction, but to go into different jurisdiction, you need to have the banking sponsors kind of thing. So it is it sounds easy, but it has its own challenges from a regulatory perspective because at the end of it, you're fighting against the banks.
Yeah. Well, there's the incumbents that don't want this to happen, right? They don't want people to have another option. So,
Yes.
like I said, Glint is the only other real competitor that I've seen, and they do have a card that you're able to like sell, swap, buy. But I think they're tokenizing the gold itself. It's not the warrant or the derivative that they're tokenizing. So,
Yeah, so
um,
you have competitors like Glint on the blockchain side. You got Paxos Gold, which is backed by BTC. You have Ethereum Gold, Theta Gold, which is backed by Ethereum. So we are the only one which is more independent on the coin market cap. We are number three behind Theta Gold and Pax Gold. But as compared to them, we are independent and we have used independent entities at each level. So it's an independent segregated vault. So we use Brinks and Transguard, which are global vaults. We have an independent governance from DMCG, which is a government of Dubai entity. We have a Sharia certification from Amani, which is an independent body which issues certification. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid any conflict of interest,
right.
where we use what you call that standardized, independent, specialized bodies to do their respective thing.
Yeah, I think the way you've structured it is very comprehensive, and I think being on the XDC network gives you a pretty significant edge over the other two that you mentioned. Um, the last thing I want to touch on and just kind of highlight, you mentioned this earlier. So if somebody's looking to purchase a larger allocation of gold, you mentioned that you have about 10 million in current value for tokenized gold, 144 kg. Could you accommodate somebody that wanted to put a larger allotment toward your tokens and system?
Yeah, so from that perspective, we have access to liquidity providers, wherein we can at this moment serve as high as 500 kgs of gold a day.
Okay.
500 kgs of gold is close to, I think, $30 million worth of gold. So that is what can be accommodated on any given day from our side. So we have the access. It's not the only is from an economic scale perspective that we are not holding it in a physical form, in a warrant form kind of thing. So when somebody needs physical gold, we can have it arranged within 24 hours to 48 hours, have it tokenized and issue tokens back to the individuals.
Wow, that's very fast. So these all of that's the 99.999%
Yeah.
highest grade, and that's
Highest grade London good delivery bars and or UAE good delivery bars and stored in secured vaults with certificates.
so anybody out there that's watching this after, if you need, if you're looking to swap your cryptocurrency for tokenized gold long term, so that you can hedge and keep your wealth stable, I think this is a fantastic solution. Would you let everybody know what your website is, how people can reach out to you if they do want to pursue that?
Yeah, so our website is called comtechgold.com, and we have info contact us. You can just go onto the website, go into the contact us slide, put in your message out there. We get the message. We get in touch with you. We also have our Twitter handle. We are there on LinkedIn and all social media, so you can get in touch with us in any of those forms. So all of these details are available on our website, and it's just a click away from us.
And so, what if somebody's watching this that wants to white label your solution? Are there any qualifications that somebody needs to have, partnerships that they need to have in place to be able to actually fulfill and do that?
So, from a white labeling perspective, the most important thing what people need should have is the network. So, this is where people come to us for white labeling, where they say that we have the market, but we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the expertise in gold. So, this is where Comtech comes into picture. So, let's say we take out any jurisdiction specifically, let's say Malaysia, because Asian like gold, and somebody wants to launch a gold in Malaysia itself, has an entity in Malaysia, has the network, has the community. We get in touch with them. We provide them the complete infrastructure, which includes your gold liquidity, your physical gold, the tokenized platform, pricing, everything. We have completely API decks which you can easy to connect. You create your own gold, create your name, and then you launch it. So it's a matter of 4 to 6 weeks where you can just launch in your own white label gold solution.
And the tokens that are issued there are Comtech global tokens.
No, so that's the benefit of a white labeling solution. So let's say you want to launch Jake Gold, you can have it Jake Gold. But what happens is for every Jake Gold, they are backed by Comtech Gold tokens, which are backed by physical gold. So you indirectly have each of your tokens backed by physical gold, and you can exchange your token at any point in time for physical gold. So that's the advantage. So you don't have to stick with Comtech on a white label solution. So we give you and we enable you to launch in your own gold tokens in your own name.
Got it. So kind of like Bretton Woods. So there was the U.S. dollar that was backed by gold, and then everybody had their own currency, which was exchangeable for a certain rate of U.S. dollars, right?
Yes,
So
that's precisely what it is.
yeah, so you just convert to the tokens that you guys have, and then exchange it for the gold if somebody wanted to redeem. Okay,
Right.
that's great. Well, this has been great having you on and having your project highlighted. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for doing what you're doing. I think that you got a very nice niche in the market that will continue to expand.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, we'll see you.
See you. Bye bye.